Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you've given us a pile of guides, some history books, travel blogs, all about Spain. And our job today is to sift through it all and sketch out, well, maybe the perfect itinerary for a first-timer spending 2 weeks there.
Exactly. And, the first thing that jumps out from all these sources is you've got to look past the usual stuff. Tapas, sangria.
Mm.
Sure, they're part of it, but Spain is so much richer.
Oh, absolutely. It's more than just another European country, isn't it? It's this incredible cultural crossroads. I mean, we're talking influences from the Phoenicians, the Romans, obviously the huge Spanish Empire under the Habsburgs.
And crucially, you can't forget the Islamic Caliphate. That shaped the peninsula for, almost 800 years in some areas? It's fundamental.
Right. And that mix is everywhere. The culture, the amazing architecture, the food, even the Spanish language itself. It's all a product of this, well, this blend.
So our mission here is to focus that down. We're recommending a 14-day trip focusing on maybe 4 key cities or regions. Think Barcelona, Madrid, Granada, and Seville. The idea is really depth, not just racing around ticking boxes.
Okay, let's dig into that. 14 days sounds like a decent amount of time, but Spain's huge. So why this specific advice to slow down, focus on just these 4 or 5 spots? Why not try and cram more in?
Well, the sources are really clear on this. If you rush, you just skim the surface. You miss the why. Every region feels different, has its own story. By picking, say, these 4 core places and actually spending a few days in each.
You get a real feel for them.
Exactly. You start to understand the local vibe, the history that's right there in front of you. You build actual memories, not just a photo album of landmarks you barely recall.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift to logistics then, because this is where you find those useful travel hacks. The experts really push this open-jaw flight idea. Why is that so important?
It's simple efficiency, really. You fly into your first city, let's say Barcelona, and then you fly home from your last city, maybe Seville.
Right. Avoids doubling back.
Precisely. If you book a round trip to Madrid, for example, but end your trip in Seville, you waste a good 5, maybe 6 hours on a train just getting back to Madrid's airport. That's half a day of your vacation gone. It adds up over 2 weeks.
And for getting around within Spain, the consensus seems to be the high-speed rail, the AVE, but isn't flying sometimes quicker? A short domestic flight feels fast.
It feels fast, but usually isn't. Think about it. Travel time to the airport, which is often way outside the city center.
Okay.
Then security, waiting, boarding, the flight itself, baggage claim. Then travel back into the city center at the other end.
Okay. Yeah, that adds up.
The train is city center to city center. It's comfortable, efficient, scenic sometimes, and honestly often cheaper when you factor everything in.
Yeah.
It's definitely the way to go for this kind of itinerary.
Now, here's a specific tip that caught my eye. Booking those trains. The sources strongly warn against using the official Spanish rail website, Renfe. What's the issue there?
Renfe. It's infamous for problems processing international credit cards. It can be incredibly frustrating. You think you've booked, but the payment fails. It's a common complaint.
So what's the workaround?
The recommended hack is to use the third-party site or app, like Omio. Yes, there's a small service fee, maybe a few euros per ticket, but the app is way more user-friendly. Payments go through smoothly. You get offline tickets on your phone. It just saves a ton of potential hassle. Totally worth a small fee.
Good tip. And what about driving? Do we need a car at all?
For Barcelona and Madrid, absolutely not. Parking's a nightmare and public transport is excellent. But if you want some flexibility exploring Andalusia, maybe driving between Granada and Seville, stopping at one of those beautiful white hilltop villages.
Like Ronda.
Exactly like Ronda. Then yeah, maybe pick up a car as you leave Madrid. But definitely drop it off as soon as you arrive in Seville. You won't need it in the city.
Okay, last logistic. When's the best time to actually go?
The sweet spot seems to be the shoulder seasons. Think September, October, even early November. Or maybe spring, like April or May.
Why though?
You dodge the peak summer clouds, which can be intense, and you avoid the really scorching heat, especially down south in Andalusia. The weather's usually lovely for walking around, exploring. It feels a bit more relaxed, more local somehow.
All right, logistics sorted. Let's dive into the cities, starting with that east to west route. First stop, Barcelona, then Madrid. These two feel quite different, don't they?
Oh, very different vibes. Barcelona hits you with that vibrant, almost flamboyant, modernist architecture. It's really defined by one person, Antoni Gaudí. You'll want a good 4, maybe 5 days there.
And the main focus is his work.
Absolutely. The Sagrada Familia, which is, believe it or not, supposedly due for completion in 2026 after almost 150 years,
Right.
and Park Güell. Those are the big 2.
And you mentioned booking earlier. This applies big time here, right?
Yeah, critically. These aren't places you can just wander up to. Tickets for both Sagrada Familia and Park Güell, especially for the specific timed entry slots you'll need, sell out weeks, sometimes months, in advance. You absolutely have to pre-book online as soon as you know your dates. Seriously, don't wait.
Got it. Beyond Gaudí, Barcelona is also about Catalan culture. The Museu d'Història Catalunya is recommended. And for a day trip.
Girona is the top pick. It's only about 40 minutes by high-speed train. It gives you a deeper sense of Catalonia beyond Barcelona, famous for its old city walls, the Jewish quarter. Really atmospheric.
And Game of Thrones fans will know it too.
That's right. Season 6 filmed quite a bit there. It's instantly recognizable if you've seen the show.
Okay, so after soaking up Barcelona, we head inland to Madrid, days 6 to 8. How does the feeling change when we arrive in the capital?
Madrid feels, well, different. Maybe more grounded. It's definitely got a more lived-in feel compared to parts of Barcelona that can feel very tourist-focused. It feels distinctly Spanish, perhaps less international than Barcelona.
And you hear veil everywhere.
Yes. Veil. It means okay or all right. You'll hear it constantly. It's kind of the city's verbal tick in a charming way. Adds to that easygoing rhythm.
So culturally, what's the absolute must-do in Madrid that contrasts with Barcelona's focus?
That has to be the Prado Museum. It's truly one of the world's top art museums. It's huge, obviously, but the sources really emphasize the Flemish collection. Bosch, Bruegel. It's described as imaginative, vibrant, and sometimes, well, pretty dark and fascinating. A real counterpoint to Gaudí's modernism.
And for just experiencing Madrid life.
You've got to do a tapas crawl on Calle Cava Baja in the La Latina neighborhood. It's buzzing in the evenings. And definitely make time for Parque El Retiro. It's this huge, beautiful park right in the city center, perfect for a break, people watching, just relaxing.
Madrid also serves as a base for a key day trip. Toledo, only 30 minutes by train. Why is this one considered essential?
Toledo is crucial. It's called the City of Three Cultures for a reason. It sets the stage perfectly for understanding Andalusia later on. You can literally see centuries of history layered on top of each other.
How so?
Well, in a really compact area, you've got things like the former mosque of Cristo de la Luz, built around 999 AD, later converted into a church. And then nearby, two incredibly historic synagogues, Santa Maria la Blanca and the Sinagoga del Tránsito. It's Christian, Jewish, and Muslim history all visibly intertwined. It's quite powerful.
That idea of layered history seems like the perfect transition south. Toledo prepares you for Andalusia, which, as you said, really showcases that huge influence of the Islamic Caliphate.
Exactly. Andalusia is where that nearly 800 years of Islamic rule left its deepest mark. The architecture, the food, the place names, it's unavoidable. And this is where understanding a term like Mudéjar becomes really important.
Okay, explain Mudéjar for us. It pops up a lot in the guides for the south.
Right, so Mudéjar isn't a separate culture. It's an artistic style. After the Christian kingdoms reconquered areas from the Muslims, the Reconquista, they didn't always just tear everything down. Often Christian rulers actually hired skilled Muslim craftsmen to build or decorate their new palaces and churches.
So it's Christian buildings, but with Islamic artistic elements.
Precisely. Think intricate tilework, horseshoe arches, geometric patterns, ornate plasterwork, but within a Christian context.
Yeah.
It means Christian architecture often built by Muslims, and it's the defining look of many major sites in Granada and Seville.
So let's start with Granada, days 9 and 10. What's its big historical significance?
Granada was the very last Muslim kingdom on the Iberian Peninsula. It held out until 1492, the same year Columbus sailed. That final surrender to the Catholic monarchs, Isabella and Ferdinand, was a huge turning point.
And its legacy is embodied in one place above all.
The Alhambra. It's just breathtaking. Part fortress, part palace complex, built by the Nasrid dynasty. It's the absolute pinnacle of Moorish architecture in Spain.
And like with Gaudí, booking is key here, especially for one part.
Even more critical than Gaudí, arguably. You must get tickets for the Nasrid palaces, and these have very specific, strictly enforced timed entries. They sell out extremely far in advance. Book them the instant you finalize your trip dates. Don't forget the General Life Gardens and the Alcazaba Fortress too, but the palaces are the crown jewel.
And even though the Christians took over in 1492, that Islamic influence didn't just vanish.
Not at all. You see the history playing out. Isabella and Ferdinand are buried right there in the Royal Chapel in Granada, a clear symbol of the change. But then you wander through the Albaycin, the old Muslim quarter. It's still vibrant, full of narrow, winding streets, and the city is packed with trattorias, traditional Moroccan-style tea houses. That cultural layer is still very much alive.
Okay, that sets us up perfectly for Seville, the final stop, days 11 to 14. You described this as the ultimate architectural mashup.
It really is. Look at the Royal Alcazar. The name Alcazar itself comes from Arabic. It was the palace for Christian kings, but it was largely built by Muslim artisans in that Mudejar style we talked about. It's stunning.
And another Game of Thrones location, right? The Water Gardens of Dorne.
That's the one. Instantly recognizable. Then, right nearby, you have the Seville Cathedral. Massive. It was built on the site of the city's main mosque after the Reconquest. Its sheer scale was meant as a statement, a projection of Christian power. Quite a contrast.
And the Giralda Tower is fascinating climbing ramps, not stairs.
Yeah, that's because the Giralda was the minaret of the original mosque. The ramps, 35 of them, were supposedly built so the muezzin, the official who calls Muslims to prayer, could ride a horse up to the top 5 times a day. They just kept the structure and added a bell tower on top. It's another perfect example of that layering.
We also can't miss the Plaza de España.
Oh, definitely not. It's probably the most spectacular public square in Spain. Built for the Ibero-American Exposition back in 1929. It's grand, beautiful, with canals, bridges, intricate tile work representing different Spanish provinces.
And famous from Star Wars, too.
Yep, Padme and Anakin walk through it in Attack of the Clones. It's a popular film spot.
Okay, and from Seville, one last essential day trip. Córdoba, 40 minutes by train. Why is this non-negotiable?
Córdoba completes the picture, really.
Yeah.
Seeing the Mezquita, the mosque cathedral, ties everything together. Along with the Alhambra in Granada and the Alcázar in Seville, it forms this incredible triumvirate of Islamic and Mudejar architectural history in Andalusia.
And the Mezquita itself is unique.
Utterly unique. You walk into this forest of candy-striped arches, hundreds of them, from the original mosque, and then right in the middle of it, boom, they built a full-scale Renaissance cathedral. It's probably the most visually striking example of Spain's layered history you'll find anywhere. Just jaw-dropping.
Wow. Okay, so pulling this all together, the big message for you, the traveler, is clearly depth over breadth, right? 2 weeks isn't enough to see everything, so focus is key.
Absolutely. Trying to cram in the whole country just leads to burnout and you don't really absorb anything. This itinerary lets you actually connect with these places.
So what if someone only has, say, 10 days? How do they adapt?
You have to make some tough cuts. For 10 days, I'd probably keep Barcelona and Madrid as anchors. Then for Andalusia, you'd likely have to choose. Maybe focus just on Seville and do Córdoba as a day trip, possibly skipping Granada or the Toledo day trip from Madrid. It's about being realistic.
And for just 1 week, 7 days.
Then you really have to choose. The sources suggest pairing Madrid with either Barcelona or Seville and Andalusia. Trying to do all 3 in 7 days would be frantic. Pick a north-south focus and stick to it. Madrid and Barcelona or Madrid and Seville.
Conversely, if you're lucky enough to have 3 weeks or more, how should you expand this core itinerary?
I'd stick with the Barcelona, Madrid, Granada, Seville spine, but add day trips or maybe an overnight stay from those bases. Like you mentioned, Ronda near Seville is fantastic. Or maybe Montserrat near Barcelona for mountains and monasteries. From Madrid, you could add Avila or Segovia easily.
But probably best not to suddenly jump to northern Spain.
Right. Unless you have a full extra week. Trying to add, say, the Basque Country or Galicia just eats up too much travel time. Better to enrich the existing route or dedicate a separate trip entirely to the north.
Okay, that feels like a really solid, history-packed but manageable 14-day plan. We've covered the crucial logistics, the key cities, the Andalusian heartland.
Yeah, the main things to remember are embrace that amazing blend of cultures, especially the Moorish influence down south. Look for that Mudejar style. Use the high-speed rail. And definitely use that Omio app trick for booking. And please, please pre-book your tickets for Gaudi sites and especially the Alhambra Nasrid palaces. Don't leave it to chance.
So let's leave our listener with a final thought, tying back to that rich, complex history we've uncovered, particularly in Andalusia.
Okay, consider this. Seville, Granada. These cities we think of as quintessentially Spanish, the ones with flamenco and bullfighting images. Their most stunning and defining features are products of centuries of rule by non-Iberian powers, primarily the Islamic Caliphate. Their identity is built on Mudejar art Christian structures built with Muslim aesthetics.
So the question is...
Yeah, what does authentically Spanish even mean when the very heart of its visual identity is this incredible centuries-long fusion? Maybe authentic Spain is this blend. Look for that conversation between the styles when you're there. It tells a fascinating story about a country built not on one single narrative, but on layers upon layers of identity.